This conference will now be recorded.
Right. To introduce myself, guys, so myself Ravinder, I'm working as a SQL DB last 14 years, and I'm working as a cloud SQL DB more than 7 years now. I do work on MongoDB and Postgres as well, along with that, and even I do work on AWS Cloud also. This is about myself, a little introduction. Let's get into the agenda of this today's discussion. So we're going to discuss what are the on-prem, data centers, what are the challenges people are facing to maintain their own data centers, and what was there before cloud was evolved. In place of cloud, what was there? What was giving the services equivalent to cloud? So that also we will touch base. And the virtualization. Virtualization is also played very, very bigger role in terms of saving the computing cost. So how it is saved and see, when something is actually benefiting the people, people are trying to adapt to that. So people always looking for the cost effective infrastructure where they can save some cost, and the maintenance also will become easy for the people. So wherever people are finding that kind of thing, they're easily moving it. So that is the reason I kept virtualization is also one of the technology introduced, and it is widely adopted by the market now. So then the most of the time we will spend on what are the cloud benefits, especially cloud benefits. This is where we'll spend, and why people are moving towards cloud implementation, what are the benefits people are getting. So why we need to learn cloud, that also will be answered with the benefit of cloud especially. And cloud deployments, cloud categories of cloud, this is very important. Again, categories of cloud, and we have different categories, and each category will be used when we're going to talk about a little about it. So anyway, you don't get in one class everything, but I'll try to make you understand what are the categories of cloud and cloud deployment models. So let's get into the first on-prem data centers. I'll talk about what kind of certifications you can take after this class, and I'll give the information towards that at the end of the course and at the end of the today's demo anyway. No, don't worry about it. First, let's talk about the today's agenda. So first, introduction to the cloud. If you want to maintain your own data centers, there are challenges, of course. What are the challenges, and what are the cost involved behind the scene to maintain the data center? Let's talk about it. First, to build your own data center, you must like identify dedicated space for a housing infrastructure. You never sit beside the server and start working, right? You never ever. So if any company, they'll deploy server infrastructure somewhere it is safe against the natural calamities, and against to the they'll prepare a space where server infrastructure is safe. So that's what people do look at, right? So finding it and then placing your server, you must have to either you construct yourself or you have to lease it to keep your server safe in that location. That is very important. Next, when you're keeping your server infrastructure somewhere, you're operating from somewhere, you need a good bandwidth between your data center and operation center. You always operate somewhere, and your data center sits somewhere. So when you're operating in that model, you need to have a proper bandwidth capacity to browse the data from the data centers. That is very important. It is a client headache, whoever maintaining the data centers. And also they need to subscribe to multiple providers. If one link is down, other link alternatively should take the load, and then business should not see the downtime. Software licensing. To run a business, people need different softwares. You need a front end, middleware, back end software. Some are open source, some are licensed. Some you need to track it, how many licenses you're using per year. And as a business is growing, how many licensed. See, you have to track, and you have to keep paying the bill to renew the licensing to use the softwares. So this is fully you have to track yourself to run the business, right? The licensing and all that. And extremely power redundancy. So in case of power outages, maybe strikes in the data center area, maybe floods, maybe something can, if unexpected scenarios happens and your server data center lost the power, you need to maintain sufficient UPS system to make your servers up and running to serve the data. Even if your UPS systems are also drained out, you need to have a diesel generators to run your server infrastructure. You cannot go to the end user and say that I don't have a power in my data center, and your applications won't work as of now. That kind of things no one will accept. So you need to have a proper backup plan all the time to give your data availability to the business end users. And dust-free controlled environment. Within the data center, you must maintain the dust-free environment. If not, servers will run 365 days and 24 by 7. So when they are running, the CPU fan will keep spinning up, right? If you have a dust environment, it accumulate the dust inside the RAM, and then when you reboot, it won't reboot. Someone has to get into the data center, they have to clear it and then start the server. It happens. Even you would have seen your personal laptops also. Sometimes it won't restart if it gets too much of dust inside in it. Efficient cooling and air ventilation system. Cooling is very, very important. See this, how the servers are placed one after the other, just one after the other, and one above the above. So now if the servers are running like this, they do generate a lot of heat, and you have to maintain certain level of temperature to, not to go that temperature beyond certain level. If the temperature gets beyond a certain level, the circuits will break. You have to maintain all the time some cooling inside the data center to control that heat what the systems are generating it, right? uh just a minute, what was it? Okay, fine. Okay, Daikar, fine. So high physical security. So only authorized people should enter into the data center, not anyone. Even there is a repair, someone has to give identity and approval to enter into the data center and then do the repairs and all that. And then you cannot dependent on one data center, right? One data center can, unexpected situations, you cannot expect natural calamities like earthquake, floods, fire burns. These kind of things are unexpected. Because of any reason your servers are gone, then you are gone. You, without data no one can operate. So you must have a DR data center also. In the DR data center also you have to maintain all of these again. Okay, so all these together making very expensive anybody to maintain their own data centers down the line basically. So to mitigate this kind of personal expenses to run the data centers, the cloud is giving a ready-made solution for anyone to build their own data centers. And the thing is here, guys, if we are running the on-prem data centers, maybe today you might be saving the cost, but down the line, after 5 years, after 10 years, your hardware get outdated. When it is getting outdated, you have to replace the new hardware to sustain with the data processing. See, every day data is growing. When the data is growing, the old system cannot process the data. So again, they had to upgrade the software and upgrade the hardware. They had to reinvest entire amount on the servers again. So if it is a cloud, you have an old server, you create a new server with all the sophisticated hardware, migrate and destroy the old one. So it is on the fly. So just example, anyway, I'm going to talk about a lot of benefits. We're going to see that. Introduction to cloud again. See here, managed services. Before cloud evolved, what was there in place of cloud? Managed services. Managed services absolutely equivalent to cloud. These people are used to do the same service more than the cloud actually. So what these people used to, even they exist still also, like in the market, what these people do, these people are very regional specific services. They don't have a globalized services. That's why they are called managed services. You wanted to run a business in one particular region, everywhere you will have a provider who can give the server infrastructure for you on the lease basis. Basically, you go to one of the managed services center, I need 10 servers to run my business, and my business runs in this region. So they have their own scope of coverage basically. So you go to them, you ask them some servers, they'll build the servers, they maintain the OS, they install the softwares that what you wanted, they add the servers into the domain, they add the firewalls, they'll give the VPNs, everything they do it. No need to worry at all. You just worry about your business logic. You have to build your applications, you have to look at your code side, your application side. Server side, absolutely they will take care of everything basically. So managed services are something they'll support you end to end. You have to pay little more than the cloud. Why? Because they are giving extra services, because they are maintaining your server uptime, database backups, and your security and everything. They'll take care. You don't worry about. Just you have to go and ask them, these many servers I need and these are the applications I'm going to run. You have to secure them, they'll do it in the background. So that's what is called managed services. Managed services is a good thing, but they don't have coverage, around the world. They do have the coverage only limited to particular regions. That's why These managed services are not popular nowadays. Virtualization brought very big revolution in the IT industry. Before the virtualization, what used to happen, you build a very big server for one application which can sustain it during the peak hours. So if you see here any application, if it gets a peak hours, we need to build a system and make it ready to take that load. So before the virtualization, you used to build a very big physical machine, and that physical machine, the resources are absolutely deployed according to your peak load. Okay, you deployed the good resources and your business is up and running and very good, but what about the non-peak hours? You are wasting the IT infrastructure when the resources are not getting utilized. So that's where the virtualization come into picture. You have a very big machine, you build a tiny servers on top of it. So one server is using the resource, others are not using it. Underlying hardware is getting utilized all the time, basically. If one is not utilizing, other server will get utilized. So here, I if everything is virtualized, even in the on-prem cloud is absolutely 100% virtualized. There is no physical something kind of. You can buy a physical server that I want to talk. In the cloud also you can buy a physical server if you want. But in the on-prem or cloud, 99% things are absolutely virtualized and nothing is physical. Everything is, you have one physical box. On top of that, they do spin off a lot of VMs based on the capacity of the physical box, basically. So that way you are absolutely utilizing underlying hardware optimum level. You are not actually wasting the resources. You are utilizing for one. If one server is not using, maybe other server is using for the maintenance activities during the night. During the day, one server is using for most of the business logic. So you're trying to utilize your entire infrastructure all the time. That is what is something, like brought very big revolution, and people are also adapted to that. So wherever the cost is saving and benefits are more, people are moving. That's what is happening. Right. This is where we will start our actual cloud discussions. So what is cloud computing? Cloud computing has hundreds of definitions on the web or internet. So I just picked up what actually, relevant to our discussion. So cloud is something you don't keep in your computers. You keep on the cloud provider servers and you process it as required, basically. So it is a use of remote servers on the internet to store, manage, and process the data rather than a local server or your personal computer. Keeping your data on local server and personal computer, you don't keep it. You keep it everything in the cloud, and you process it according to your need, basically. Anyway, how you process through the secured channels, we're going to talk about. I'm going to discuss how we can form a VPN tunnel if at all you are accessing from the external networks. When you are accessing from the external networks, definitely you need to have some security, some sort of tech security. How we can form the VPN tunnel to access the data securely. So that also we have a discussion in our class. We will dedicate one entire class for that, forming the VPN tunnel with a cloud infrastructure to read with the security, basically. Cloud computing is a delivery of on-demand computing resources over the internet on pay-per-use basis. So I need 10 servers today. Tomorrow I need 20 servers. Maybe again I wanted to destroy 5 servers. I only need 15 servers day after tomorrow. It is something based on the business. You keep build the server, keep destroy the servers whenever you don't want, and you only absolutely pay the amount of time you use the services. That's it. It is a pay per use basis. If I'm using 10 minutes, I'll pay for 10 minutes only. Azure follow the per minute billing. AWS will follow the per hour billing. Here, if I'm using 10 minutes, I'll pay for only 10 minutes. Okay. So here, like if you go to the e-commerce businesses, they do release the big billion sales, right? When they do release the big billion sales, how do they sustain with the load, right? They cannot expect how many people are going to hit the system. But you never see that during the big billion days also systems are going down. There is something called virtual machine auto scale set. Servers will create automatically based on the load, destroy automatically when there is no load. We're going to see that in our class. So it is called virtual machine auto scale set. The entire cloud e-commerce, see all e-commerce businesses are running in the cloud only. You take it any name, they are absolutely in the cloud. That is the reason they are sustaining it. The on-prem technologies cannot support this dynamic scaling of machine, dynamic destroying the machine. There is no such thing basically in the on-prem. In the cloud, you do have Based on the CPU load, it will build new servers and distribute the load to new servers, and the servers will get destroyed when it is not under use. So it is a fully dynamic function. So that's how you do get the response from the big billion days or whatsoever the load. It absolutely scale with any amount of data, any amount of request count during the big billion days or unexpected peak hours. The kind of configuration we're going to see that in our class. I'm going to spend time how the servers are building out automatically, how the servers are destroying automatically. We're going to see in practical, not just oral. Okay. All right, cloud deployment model, public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Public cloud, something anybody can. This is not restricted to anybody. Whoever have a credit card, just spin off a subscription and start building the services. It's not restricted to anyone. It is absolutely open to the world. Anybody have internet and credit card, they can go and create an account and start building the services basically. So it's open for anyone. This is a public cloud. Private cloud is something owned by single organization. See, any data center is something is a cloud. Everything is a cloud basically. Why it is cloud? Because you're not sitting just beside the server and working. Servers are deployed somewhere. You're connecting over the internet and performing the activities. So anything you connect remote is a cloud. Okay. So the private clouds are owned by single organization. They are proprietary. They will not be shared with any other people basically. It is absolutely dedicated for one company and one company functionalities. It's not for someone else. It's for only one company. They do build, they do maintain everything what we discussed in the first slide. Hybrid cloud, this is something is famous nowadays. You run some services on-prem, some services in the cloud, depends on your business model. So we have 40% on-prem infrastructure, 60% cloud infrastructure. We are running and operating in a hybrid model basically. This is called a combination of on-prem and cloud is hybrid model basically. So some of the financial services we are running in the on-prem, even you can run financial services also in the cloud, but we have our old data centers. They wanted to make use of those resources. So whatever the new services we are getting, we are absolutely deploying in the cloud itself. Whatever the existing infrastructure we are operating and financial services are running, we are still with the on-prem itself. So, but even financial services also, we are getting new requirements. We are building in the cloud itself. But down the line, maybe in 2 3 years, we will entirely move to the cloud. So even people don't have a requirement to go to the cloud. People are exploring it. What kind of benefits we are getting through the cloud. So you would have seen in your companies also, they are asking you to do the R&D with the cloud. That has been happened before we implemented the cloud. We also did R&D for before 1 year itself when the cloud was implemented. So they gave the accounts access and they asked us to build the POCs, proof of concepts for each one. And then we did a lot of R&D. Then we deployed the services slowly, pre-prods and then prods. So that's how slowly things will move, right? So though you don't have a cloud implementation straight away now, still people are asking to explore the cloud services in every company. It's a usual ask by every company because these are giving the benefits what we're going to discuss in the next slides. Categories of cloud service. This is very, very important, guys, to understand. IaaS, infrastructure as a service, PaaS, PaaS, platform as a service, and software as a service, basically. What are these basically? And where do we focus most as a DBA? And where do we give our services? Let's talk about that. SaaS services. SaaS service is something, software as a service, which are ready to use software. You don't do anything as a DBA. It is fully deployed automated services. So if you go to, if I gave the GoToMeeting link and you all joined, nothing I did and you did. I just gave the link and you joined. So this is something ready to use software. If I go to any Google, Google Play stores, all apps that you download from the Google store, absolutely SaaS services. No one is asking. See, if I'm going to Google store, I'll download the WhatsApp, I'll give my details, mobile number and OTP. That's it. I'll use the services right after that. No one is approving your request. It is ready to use software. Anything that is comes under as part of ready to use softwares, that will come under SaaS, as simple as it is. If you are going to the Google and Gmail, you are creating it, you just give your details when you're signing up, right? After that, you don't need to give every time. You just give your username, password, what you have given you during the sign up, and you start using the email and sending the emails automatically. No one is approving in the background. It is a predefined things in the background. You just have to subscribe and use it, right? So anything that come as a part of ready-made uses, ready-made services, all those services comes under SaaS. Anything. Your best example is your Google Play Store apps. All the apps comes under SaaS services only. PaaS. PaaS is something which runs on top of the cloud without a VM. Yes, they do have a lot of scope to do the customizations in terms of cost, in terms of security compliances, in terms of your own customization you can deploy if you wanted. You enable something, you disable something, you still have a scope. The problem here is you don't get the control on the infrastructure at all. And uptime, you cannot shut down the SQL server in the Azure. Basically, there is no stop button, there is no start button. It runs 365 days, and you don't need to take the backup. It's fully automated, and the SQL server is by default to the 19. There is no scope you can go with a particular version. So some controls are absolutely with the Microsoft, because you don't have a VM to run this one. It runs on top of the cloud platform, as a cloud as a platform. That is why platform as a service. You don't have a VM. If you are getting a VM, if within the VM you can install SQL Server, you wanted middleware software, front-end software, you do whatever you wanted to do. So they don't care. It's none of their business. They are giving a virtual machine on as an object. Inside the VM, what you do, it's up to you. They don't care about. And here there is no protection for the VM disk. If the disk is corrupted, you have to take the continuous backups to recover it. If the VM is crashed, you need to take the continuous snapshots to recover it. So here there is no much of protection compared to PaaS. PaaS something which will protect in all directions. Basically, if you have a SQL database in the PaaS model, just for the case, okay, you have a SQL database in the PaaS model, it will maintain 2 copies by default, by design. You don't need to ask this. So they maintain 2 more copies in the background. Why they maintain 2 more copies? These copies you cannot see, you cannot access anything, but still they maintain. Why? If anything is crashed, physical data is corrupted, the healthy copy will come and repair that segment. If any secondary copy is crashed, other healthy copy will come and repair. As a user, you don't know there is a corruption happened, it got repaired. Okay, this is claiming that 7 nines. Okay, 99.99.999 and 5 nines, 7 9. So which means a zero data loss, zero data corruption in the PaaS model, because they maintain 3 copies of your data all the time by design. And if someone delete a table, that is a manual corruption, right? The physical hardware corruption is unexpected, but manual corruption is something by mistake. They do run the backups automatically every, like full backup weekly, and every 12 hours to 24 hours differential backup, log backup every 5 minutes to 10 minutes. You can recover up to the point automatically with one single click away. Recovery of the data will happen with a single click. Basically, we're going to see all these in practical anyway. I'm going to show that. I'm going to delete the data intentionally. How do I'll recover the data with one single click. So how the cloud functions are actually automated, we're going to explore all of that. We'll spend a lot of time in that direction anyway. So what I wanted to conclude here is PaaS is something which runs on top of the cloud without a VM, and you have your own customization scope. Okay, whereas SaaS does not give the customization scopes. They are ready-made, ready to use softwares. There is not too much of customization. You can still do some customization in terms of networking and security compliances, but there are not too much of customization. But here you have a scope. You can do the tune the SQL queries, you can deploy the indexes, you have to do the rebuilding in indexes, you have to create the security, creating users, giving the permissions. Everything can be done, but if the PaaS SQL server is down, you cannot do anything except raising a case. Except raising case, because you don't have that infrastructure control at all. If it is a VM, if it is shut down, I can go and start. I can go and, if I wanted, I can stop with the VM. I have that options in the cloud, but for the PaaS, you don't have it. And also, you cannot choose what version of SQL Server you wanted. It is by default to the 19 straight away. You cannot have, you don't have a choice to choose what version of SQL Server you wanted. So PaaS does not give you all the option that you wanted, whereas IaaS will give you, but IaaS will not give the protection what PaaS is giving. So when do we go for the PaaS? When do we go for the IaaS services? We're going to discuss in the course. I need to discuss a lot of points, then only you understand the basic actual difference when the PaaS is actually absolutely applicable, when the IA service are absolutely applicable, and what kind of workload should go to the PaaS model, what kind of workload should go to the IaaS model. You need to know the computing families and computing powers, what can be given, what cannot be given at what point. So we're going to discuss in detail on this area especially. Okay. So any questions on this cloud categories, basic understanding wise? Let me know. If not, I'll move to the cloud benefits, where we'll move to actual discussions of today's agenda. Anyone
This
want
is
to ask any?
Nagendra here.
Yeah, Nagendra.
So in the suppose the customer has adopted PaaS, okay?
Hmm.
Suppose so in the future you want to move to the IaaS, okay? Is there option to move that?
Yes, yes,
Like
you can
even you
move
want
the
to manage infrastructure as well.
right. You can move to IaaS to PaaS, PaaS to IaaS at any point of that. We will talk about. We will move. Migration is a major topic for us. We'll move to the on-prem to cloud, cloud to cloud, cloud to on-prem. In terms of data migrations, in terms of disk migrations, we will do all sort of migrations. Migration is very very important for us. You need to know because the requirement can come in any direction. Basically, you have to serve the requirement. So that will be definitely covered. That's very important component of this training anyway.
And in the PaaS model, right? Like Microsoft will take the backups. Will the backups will be given to the customer, like at any point of
If
time?
you want, you can take your manual backup. Microsoft will take that you cannot extract basically for the fast
Okay.
PaaS infrastructure, but you can generate your own backup manually. It is possible on
Okay.
demand.
Okay. Thanks.
That
Thanks.
is an export import kind of thing. We will see that how we can generate, how we can transfer the backup if you want it from one region to other region and restore anywhere. So we will see all that is practical scenarios where we get into the live classes, right? There we will cover up. Yes, it is possible to take
Sure.
manual
Thanks.
backup and give it. All right. Any other question on this one? So if you look at guys, for understanding, if it is on-prem, you are absolutely responsible for networking, storage, servers, virtualization, everything that you have it because you built it and you are responsible to maintain. You need more technicians to even maintain the infrastructure because you need Hyper-V guy, you need backup guy, Windows guy, networking guy. So these people you need in a good count basically, in fact, to maintain the infrastructure because you are maintaining end to end. If it is a cloud IaaS model, networking you don't have control, storage you don't have control, virtualization also you don't have control. You just have to give a number. I need 500 GB to 1 TB. I'll change the 500 to 1 TB and then save it. It'll automatically expand to 1 TB, but you don't know how many LUNs are getting joined and to give that logical storage. You don't care about. You just give the number, it will expand automatically even in the IA services also. So you are not maintaining the storage. No net, you cannot maintain the networking is absolutely controlled by the Microsoft. Okay, the traffic what you wanted to allow is your, that is in your hand, but what is the underlying network availability and the data transfer rate, that depends on the network you claim when you are creating it. We're going to talk about that. If you want more bandwidth, you have to choose when you are provisioning the VM. Okay, based on the size of the VM, the extra bandwidths are available. We're going to see that. And virtualization technology, like you wanted VM with certain standards, right, when it get built. So that something is absolutely done by the Microsoft, you don't worry about. Okay, and once the VM is given, the VM will get a OS. You have the option to choose, like you wanted a Windows operating system or desktop operating system, or you wanted a Unix platform operating systems. You have the choice. That's why it is under your control. Okay, you can choose anything. If it is a PaaS model, you only maintain the data. That's it. Whatever the data you are pushing in and whatever the data you wanted to keep it in the system, you have the control. But you don't have option to even stop the server also. You cannot stop, you cannot start. It runs 24 by 7, 365 days automatically in the background. SaaS, nothing you have to worry. See, everything is fully under the Microsoft control. You're not changing anything. What is defined? It is defined, you use it, that's it, on top of it. So there is no customizations allowed because it's fully deployed services. The best example is all Google Play Store apps. Basically, you don't change the app code, you only use it as a user. That's it. So it's like that. All SaaS services, nothing much you have to do as a DBA. Only the PaaS services and IaaS services where you can give your services as a DBA basically. Cloud benefits. This is where we will focus more today. Cost. Everybody doing the business to gain the money, right? No one doing the businesses for charity. So here, if at all I wanted to start a business, I wanted to start a, like a data center. We discussed what are the challenges that we have in the first slide, right? I spent time here. You need a dedicated space, high bandwidth internet, links between the data center to operation center, that too redundant. If one goes down, other one should pick up. Licensing also a huge headache. You have to track the licensing, how many you are getting used, what are open source, what are licensed, and you have to track that, right? Power resources, dust-free environment, air ventilation, cooling, and physical security. This is also very important, right? Unauthorized people should not enter. If they are entering it, they can damage your reputation by doing something. So that should not happen. So you cannot depend on one data center. So that's all challenges to maintain, right? To start a small business for anyone, they cannot afford to maintain, no, to invest that much amount. Cloud is giving the ready-made solution nowadays. They can directly build the service and pay after 1 month. So someone is building the service, giving the services to the market, they'll get the money. As they get the money, they can pay for the services. So on the fly, you can run the business and you can gain the money from the market. You can pay it off to the infrastructure. No need to have the capital to start the business basically. So this is the kind of flexibility you're getting it. Not only this, basically first thing is, like guys, what happens, hardware always get outdated. Not today, but after 10 years. Whatever the hardware you get today, after 10 years, absolutely it is outdated. It won't process the data that you have current data. So you would have seen last 10 years ago, there was no much of data. There was no smartphones, only the feature phones, the keypads, where the data generation was very low. Now everybody are the data generators. Everybody have a smartphone. Everybody are doing something with a smartphone. Everything that you're doing is a data from the server side. Okay. Okay, there is a question. Let me read out and then answer. If we purchase software once, then we're not paying anything to the software company. Coming to the cloud, we have to pay every day. Yeah, you are actually not paying. That is where I'm focusing anyway. You are purchasing the software yearly basis. It's not something lifetime. You have to renew your license every year. That is there, and you have to track it how many licenses are getting used. If you don't track again, your bill will go abnormally, of course. So if you are using a server today, after 10 years it will get outdated. Okay, and when it is get outdated, your that server cannot capable of processing the data that you have currently, because data is big and the server hardware is actually, the specs are not supporting the data that you wanted for the business as of now. So you have to replace the entire hardware. When you have to replace the entire hardware, again you have to reinvest like a scratch. If it is a cloud, it's not like that. Cloud will give you a lot of benefits if you use it. How to, you should know how to use it. I'm the part of cost optimization in my environment. I do work as a cost optimization engineer. I'm going to tell you all the tricks how you can optimize a cloud infrastructure to maintain the minimum bill. Okay, that's something I'm going to talk about. If towards a VM, towards a SQL side, I'm going to give you all the tips that I actually follow to maintain the cost. We got trained from the Microsoft for that cost optimization. In the initial days, we got too much of bill. Our client said that you don't want the cloud because he's getting too much. Then we got trained on the cost optimization side. What are the things we have in our control to maintain the cost? That's something I'm going to specifically focus towards that. Okay, cloud is not cheap if you don't follow certain rules. That also I'm going to talk about. Okay, cloud is cheap if you follow certain rules. That how it can be made cheap, we will focus towards that. When it comes to the infrastructure, when we are building the infrastructure, we need to know the families, we know to the computing powers, what you wanted for each, and what kind of workload you are using it. Based on that, you have to choose the according family computer. So that way you can save the money. We're going to pick up the points towards that. But what I'm focusing is cost. Cost is something anyone to start up a business. Okay, if they wanted to invest on the data center, it's not easy. It's very tough to have. You have to build a data center. You have to build recruit people to maintain the infrastructure first, right? To respect to in, you need a networking guy, storage guy, Hyper-V guy. and a lot of people, right? Backup team to maintain all the infrastructure up and running, and even if it corrupted, someone has to recover it. So too many people you wanted to maintain. If it is cloud, you don't need that many, especially for the infrastructure side. So mostly if the cloud is getting implemented, backup team, Windows team, storage team, Hyper-V team, these are the four teams will get impacted a lot. Their profiles no more needed. They need, but not in big numbers like on-prem, because things are automated by the Microsoft. You don't have to worry about. Towards the product, we have still life. Whoever working on the product, cloud has a lot of things to do the further tuning and further customizations. But towards the infrastructure side, definitely there is a lot of hit on the profiles. Job loss can happen, especially for the infrastructure side people. See guys, cloud computing is eliminated the capital expense of the companies of buying hardware, software, setting up and running the on-site data centers. See, the big thing here is, guys, every business is trying to make it globalized. So globalization, definitely, if I have one data center in one country, I'm serving the data to all the countries. It is possible. You can do that. You build a very big data center here. You serve the data to all the countries that you are operating. It is possible, but you will see the delay because you are giving the data to one country to another country through the long range network cables. There will be delay and performance can be degraded. So it's not a viable solution, right? So you have to build a data center in every country where you are trying to start up your business. So building the data center, we have seen how big tough it is, like, to maintain it. You need more infrastructure people, more investment you needed. So that should not all the people can afford it. So cloud is giving ready-made solution. You build a infrastructure nearest to, in every country they have their own cloud is implemented. You build one data center every country what you're operating in the cloud, and give the resources or data services local people from that cloud service. It is possible. Whoever growing globally, it is become a ready-made cloud is become a ready-made solution. No need to buy the place where they wanted to place the servers, get the infrastructure unloaded, kept into network, and then all the people need to be coordinated to start this that server infrastructure from there. That is not required. On the fly, you can single click away how big server you wanted. The server will come within 2 to 4 minutes. It doesn't matter. It will be like a 1 TB server. It can be 100 TB server. It will come in only 4 minutes. So the provisioning is also so quick, and the handoff, the IT services that you wanted to give to the market is also so quick, because you are giving from the exactly some you are giving the services from exactly from the location where you wanted to operate from, using the cloud services. And you can integrate. I'm going to show you create it. One is India, one is in US, and networks can be seamless, like they work as if like a one network. How we can integrate the networks in the background to operate globally as a single network in the cloud securely, that too. We have the discussion in practical. I'm going to create one in India, one in US, and we're going to integrate the backend network and talk to the server seamlessly without any issues, basically on the private networks, not on the public. I'm talking about private networks are absolutely safe. No one can enter into those networks. So using the privates, you can talk to one region to other region, absolutely. Okay. So what is the motto of this point here is, if you are buying a server today, that will get outdated after certain years. It will be definitely outdated. You have to replace the entire hardware. When you're replacing old hardware, you have to give it to scrap vendor. Scrap vendor also will charge you for scrapping it securely, right? So everything comes at the cost. So if it is cloud, you just destroy the old one, build a new one, and migrate the data, all of the data. Don't worry about the old one at all. Completely on the fly you can do it. So the expenses again and again where you're doing that is avoided. Maybe cloud is at the moment, it is same cost what you are paying for the on-prem, almost same. Still down the line you will see the benefit. Okay, that's the future vision people looking at. Okay, then global scale, that's what I just said. People are globalizing nowadays. Anyone, any kind of business are growing globally. That's where people getting the money. When they are growing globally, they have to give the services, data services to nearest from the nearest location. If not, you will not get the performance up to the mark what the people are looking for. So the cloud is giving ready-made solution to build a globalized infrastructure straight in that region and then give the data services from that region itself. That way you are able to globalize your business and run absolutely on the IT platform all the services that you are giving through the computers. Performance is also one big factor for anything, right? If you cannot give a good performance, if example you are going to the ATM, you're drawing the money, you are getting the money after every time you are going to that ATM and getting the money after 5 minutes because it is delayed. The server is not reading your data, your account, and giving you the amount. You will not go to that ATM second time. If you see once, twice, third time you will not visit that ATM at all. So there is a competitor. Why you going? We are not going to that ATM because there are alternative ATMs where it is working fine. So you have the competitors market all the time. You cannot excuse to the customer that I'm getting the huge load, I cannot give you this kind of speed right now. No, right? You always have to give the data on the fly to the customers to retain your business basically, because there are a lot of competitors who can serve better than you, so you lose your business. So you have to be always competent with the other competitors. To In terms of performance, data serving is very important. Everything going through the data only, anything and everything nowadays. Everything is you're sitting at home and doing it, everything. How it is happening? Only through the systems. And that too, you should not see any delay. No one has the patience. Everybody need on the fly and the next seconds. That's what the infrastructure need to do, right? And performance also can be, you wanted software upgrades, hardware upgrades to meet the demands of the data. The more data, the more power you need. The more power you wanted, the more latest hardware you have to deploy and latest softwares you have to upgrade, so that new features will be given to the market. So you have to follow all of that to get the good performance out of the system. So to follow this is a huge cost company to the companies to replace the hardware, to upgrade the softwares. When you are upgrading also, you need to do side by side to not to impact. When you are doing the side by side, you need to get the new hardware. To get the new hardware for an on-prem company, what is the process? First you will identify the requirement. You go to the procurement team will get the budget approval from the finance team will give the approval, then procurement team will go to the vendor, and vendor will receive the request and build the custom server according to your need. They deliver it, you have to install it, plug it. So these all happen. Delivery of the services is not so simple in on-prem environment, because it's something, there is a process you defined. People has to follow all of that. Cloud is not like that. You need a server, in the next few minutes, click and get it. Someone have a question? Let me know. Yeah, if you have anything in your mind, please open up, guys. It's not something I do speak and you keep listen. If you have any question, if you don't have question, it's okay. But if you have a question, please speak out. I'm absolutely open to discuss any kind of question that you want. See, you have something in your mind, you speak out. I'll try to answer maximum if it is related to our point. Okay. So I wanted to keep interactive anyway during our class. So global scale performance is possible through the cloud, and the speed. The speed is very important. Giving the services to the end user on the fly, like you don't want to wait for too long to get the services. If it is on-prem, definitely you have to plan it. You have to plan the resource. If I wanted to bid for a new project, I need to have that infrastructure to support that new project. So first I need to prepare it, that infrastructure, then I can go for a bid. If it is a cloud, no. You definitely get any project, you wanted a new server infrastructure to support that, you spin off on the fly and build whatever you wanted. No capacity planning, nothing in advance. You don't need to do anything. In the cloud, if you have a 10 CPUs, I wanted to make it 100 CPUs, one click away, and that to 1 minute. The scaling of the VM down and up will happen 1 to 3 minutes maximum at most. So you don't need to do any pre-planned capacity planning. See, if you are doing the capacity planning, what exactly happens? So what I have to do, if it is on-prem and then I wanted to bid for the new project and I need to have my IT resources ready. So I have to make at least 30% free, my infrastructure running at 30% free. Then only I can serve my ongoing demand. So this 30% free all the time with you, you are not utilizing that resources at all, just keeping as a buffer to 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 serve the demand. This 30% investment is useless for timing all the time. Why? Because you are keeping this as a buffer to just to get the new ongoing business needed it, right? You have to make the infrastructure always in the buffer, right? If one of the disk is full, you're expanding automatically. How you're expanding? Because you have the resources in the background. So all must be maintained, but when it comes to the cloud, you don't need to worry about. It is on the fly, no capacity planning and no time in the provisioning of the VMs. The agility in provisioning of computing resources through self-service on-demand features enable the flexibility and depressurized capacity planning. So you don't need to worry about to create a new server. It's a one click away job, and you need to do the pre-planned capacity planning also. It is one click away job. It will expand automatically as you need it as per the requirements. So the cloud is giving speed of delivery, options to the people. That's why it is one of the point to consider, right? And enhance the productivity. This is another important point. So when the cloud came into picture, then only the market started asking multi-profile people. Before the cloud was not implemented, if you are SME in one technology, you get a handsome pay and you'll get the good value in the company, and you are the sole person to maintain all of that. Nowadays, no one is actually, you are the really good at one technology, no one is caring about you. Why? Multi-skill people are required. The cloud is giving the ready-made things. When the cloud is giving ready-made things, one person working on one technology doesn't make sense for the companies. They have the time. Employees are getting the time because things are automated, so they have to learn new things to serve other purpose. So that's where enhanced productivity is happening for the companies basically. Anyway, the employee also need to align with the requirements what are there in the market. That is a different story. You have to, like the companies actually, getting the productivity, more productivity from the employees because people are learning more. That's a demand. So remove of the racking, stacking, hardware, software patching, nothing you have to do in the PaaS model. You don't have to patch the server. You don't have to upgrade the SQL server. It automatically upgrade in the background. When the new feature comes, new patch comes, automatic. PaaS environment is absolutely automatic. You don't need to worry about much of the infrastructure maintenance side. Anyway, database side, tuning side, queries or optimization side, that anyway is still open. So when nothing you do towards that, you will spend your time to improve your career goals, career aspirations. Like you wanted to learn some of the technology, some of the technology, one single guy supporting multiple technologies. This is where the demand came from. When the cloud is more implemented, the people are needed to learn more technologies because cloud is as automated things. So one technology cannot be as a competent employee you are in the company. So it is happening, that's what is people are, you guys also facing it, right? People are asking to learn new technologies. So that's something actually happening through the cloud implementation because cloud is giving the certain ready-made features. Reliability talks about two things. One is the data recoverable, how well my data is recoverable, one point, and how well my data is secure. So this talks about two big things basically. Data is absolutely recoverable. In the cloud, you have all technologies that you have in the on-prem. You have the log shipping, you have the mirroring, you have the always on with the cloud VMs. You have, if it is a PaaS model, anyway, the data by default protected. You don't need to design any DR, disaster recovery plans. You don't need to do. By default, it is done. In the past, you spin off a database, it will create 2 more copies automatically, and data will be absolutely recoverable all the time. If it is a VM model, you had to go with always on if you wanted. Maybe you want to take the continuous backups, VM snapshots, VM to VM replication. There are many technologies they have given to protect it. So that comes an extra cost anyway, but they have given the option to protect it. Data is reliable and recoverable and all that. How data is reliable? Basically, I have a server here, it is in the cloud. Everybody can creating the servers inside the cloud, they can access it in the background. No, one network created by one person cannot be accessible or visible by anyone. It is fully isolated one to other. But you wanted to allow, you can create a rule set. I'm going to show that. We have a networking module. We'll spend 4 classes on it. How you can create a network, how you segment the network into subnets, how you can release an IP from the subnet to the machine, how you can block the communication, how you can open the communication. Why we need to learn as a SQL DB as all this, right? The SQL is integrated with the platform, and the platform is operating right on top of the platform. SQL is operating it. You need to know infrastructure side also to understand the product better. First, I'll cover the infrastructure, then I'll enter into the product. When I enter into the product, I'll re-refer all our discussions so that you can easily understand. So we'll spend 12 classes on entire infrastructure, and it's about creating the VM, creating the automation for the SQL Server deployment. If I create a SQL Server, it has to get the disk layout automatically. It has to get all the standards automatically, tools, software, everything should be there with one single click away. So you have that kind of automation through the infrastructure. We're going to see that. You wanted to migrate one server to the server, it is on the fly using the disk also you can migrate. So we're going to see that, okay? That all the options. So infrastructure side also we are getting a lot of benefits. We are going to cover that in the beginning days of the course anyway. So cloud is absolutely reliable in terms of data security and in terms of security in the sense in terms of network, and data recovery is absolutely possible in all directions. If it is a VM model, there is no much protection, but you have been given the options: VM replication, always on, database protection levels, continuous backups, all that you have the option to recover it. So there is some service called Vault, Azure Vault, which will take your VM SQL Server backup continuously, and the backups never corrupt. There is a service which is equivalent to your third-party backup tool. You don't need to go to any third-party backup tool if you are in the cloud towards the VM. We'll talk about all of that, guys. SQL side, no need to worry. I cover end to end. It's not what is what. Every class is a practical. Every class is like a workshop. You get to know a lot of different things basically. I'm going to share all of my experience here. It's not just what is what for sure. You realize if you attend few classes anyway. Then why we need to learn Azure? That's a question. When we have other top two leaders, especially Amazon, AWS, and Google, these are the three leaders which are leading in the cloud computing era. There are some other vendors and players, but they don't have a good existence as of now. But these are top three leaders, especially in terms of infrastructure. Microsoft is absolutely way behind the AWS. Infrastructure I'm talking about, the biggest server and the more data centers, more wide implementation in terms of infrastructure. Azure is a top leader. AWS still leader in terms of revenue. Just a minute, what is the question? Restore DB is free and we have to pay for Restore DB. If it is within the region, yes, it is free. If you are going out of region, you have to pay for the network charges. How much data you're transferring, that also will be calculated because you're consuming the bandwidth. There will be costs, everything basically. So if you are doing within the region, you can create your own private endpoint. When the private endpoint is created, it will goes to the local network. You don't have to pay anything. But when you go to different region and inter-region, there is a network bandwidth you are consuming it, so that will be chargeable. The network bandwidth also cost. There is given a chart for the cost, so we can look at it. That also will be discussed. How much is the cost for each GB that you transfer? Up to 5 GB is free. Going beyond 5 GB, there is a cost involved. We'll talk about it.
Ravi,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a small doubt. Recently, I gone through one incident actually in my company. That is
Okay.
regarding in VM we have issue like the space issue.
Mm,
At the time, that is a VM in cloud. At the time,
mm,
we requested for the storage expansion for the drive,
mm, mm.
and they are saying that for the storage expansion they need some downtime or something. I heard
Downtime is
that
required. Absolutely required. In Azure, if you wanted to disk expansion, you need a downtime. In AWS, you don't need a downtime.
downtime in the sense the whole server VM or what?
Yes, all VM, you need a downtime. We're going to do that in our class. How do you expand a drive? We have the topic.
Okay, but in your
In
yeah,
Is
go
there any
ahead,
cost
Sanjay.
saving for purchasing the software from on-premises to IaaS? Yeah, go ahead. Yes, Sanjeev, I'll answer your question. Who is asking question? Please go ahead.
in AWS side also it is required downtime sometimes, not all the time.
Right. I mean, AWS also, you need a downtime. When you have a big disk, basically it won't get expanded immediately. Azure is better than AWS in terms of disk expansions. When it is a big, 2 TB, 3 TB drives, you have it. In AWS, it takes hours to get that reflect. Hours, in fact. In Azure, it's not like it's on the fly. But it need an entire downtime, but it is on the fly. I work on both the clouds basically. So
Okay.
Azure is the most friendly, user friendly when it comes to the migrations. AWS has a lot of things actually. You have to go through a lot of things. Here it is so simple and straightforward, no intermediate charges. AWS has different charges for the migrations, basically. Yeah, Azure doesn't have it. So compared to, as situation came, there is a question. Let me answer. Is there any cost saving for purchasing the on-prem software and the IaaS? Yes, you have a hybrid benefit. By default, you'll get 49% discount. 49%. Okay. So let me show this for you. So Azure is 5 times cheaper, or else AWS is, let me show you, AWS is 5 times more than the Azure, costlier than the Azure. It is absolutely claimed by the Microsoft. So if it is a Microsoft product, here AWS is 5 times more expensive than Azure for Windows Server and SQL Server. So if you are using the Microsoft platforms, Microsoft products, Azure is the best platform. Okay, AWS is another vendor, right? They don't have any direct relation with the Microsoft product. They are the third-party vendor, and you will definitely have to look at his margins to give that services to the market. So if I go to the, if I'm paying $100 to the AWS for the same SQL Server, same Windows box, even in the Azure, I'll pay only $20. See, the 5 times it is clearly they claimed on the official website. So if you have the Microsoft product, Azure is the best platform to migrate to get the most, discounts, deeper discounts basically. If you have the on-prem license, SQL Server license, you straight away get the 30% discount. When you are creating itself, you have to choose that your bill automatically will come down. Even when we are creating the VM also, you're using the on-prem Windows Server, you claim the same license in the cloud VM, then you straight away get the 30% discount. So discounts are very deeper compared to AWS basically. You get the discount on the VM level, you get the discount on the product level, everywhere, hybrid benefits. That is called hybrid benefits. You're running the on-prem same Microsoft product, you want it run in the cloud also Microsoft product, you get the hybrid benefits, which is a 30% straight away. We're going to see that anyway when I'm building it. Okay. So one thing is for SQL DBS, Azure is the best compatible cloud as of now. AWS used to be there before Azure was not in the market much, but Azure is becoming a robust in terms of infrastructure, in terms of implementation also than AWS. You would have seen market is actually asking more of Azure resources than AWS nowadays because of the Azure is getting widely implemented and very rapidly growing cloud technology than AWS. AWS has a complexities, a lot of I do work on both the clouds since very long. But AWS, if you wanted to migrate a database from on-prem to cloud, you take it to the S3 bucket. S3 bucket to directly SQL Server, you cannot restore unless third-party tool is involved, or else there is something called storage gateway. And every byte you transfer through the gateway, they will be chargeable. And there is no direct method to migrate. So Azure has direct things. You load into the blob and directly restore into the SQL VM, the SQL server which is in the VM. There is no intermediate services involved. So things are easy. The Microsoft always look at things, make it easy, user-friendly programs. Whatever they make the products, they make it user-friendly. That's where the Microsoft products will sell off like anything. Compared to other products give the good benefits like in terms of performance, but you need a technician's availability to support the product. So Microsoft product, anybody can learn on the fly and they can support it. That's a good advantage basically with the Microsoft. Anyway, Microsoft is giving a lot of benefits for the Microsoft products. If Microsoft product is the one which you need to upgrade to cloud, definitely is Azure is a immediate option for you or anyone to move it, because they are give the deeper discounts in the hybrid model. AWS is also very old technology. It is started in 2006. In fact, it started it in 2010, but it started response 2014. 8 years behind the AWS in terms of implementation, I would say. But Azure is far ahead than the AWS in terms of infrastructure. Revenue-wise, 2-3% behind the AWS right now, 2 or 6% revenue-wise. In maybe in couple of years, AWS is far behind the AWS, Microsoft Azure in terms of revenue, and infrastructure is already gone. Infrastructure far ahead than AWS. They're implementing every year a lot of regions, data centers. They keep coming up new locations every year. AWS, they have a strict, like they don't have that wide implementation of like Azure, especially in terms of infrastructure. And revenue wise also very close. They are very close now. like 6 to 7% difference. Google is a like a growing baby kind of thing. It is still under it's no way competitor to these two guys as of now. This will not even share 10% of the market, but it is also growing, one of the growing cloud technology. It down the line maybe this will also come into competition, but as of now it is not a competitive cloud for these two, especially at the moment. Right. Why Microsoft? That is what again, Microsoft products are always user friendly. Anybody can learn, anybody can support the product. Easy to learn and manage, rapid growth in the cloud computing, more regions and data centers than any other cloud competitor at the moment. This is what I was saying. Cost effective to compare to other competitors, basically. They do give a deeper discount than any other cloud provider. That's what Microsoft do basically. They give the products at cheaper cost compared to other products basically. So anyone giving any new feature, Microsoft will immediately release the feature in other way, not in the same way but in other way equivalent to that. So Microsoft products will sustain forever, I would say forever, because they never go behind someone else's features. Someone else is releasing some feature, Microsoft will release the same feature in a different way, so they cannot even file a case kind of. Microsoft is always like that. They do build their own softwares, whatever the other people are building in the market. So if you look at Microsoft is also building the Unix platform called MUX, MUEX. It is under testing. So SQL Server tightly will integrate with the that Unix platform soon. It is going to happen. Okay, SQL to Server 2017 already. It is open source. It is a multi-platform integrated. It can run on Unix platform. It can run on Windows platforms. SQL Server 2017 onwards. So Microsoft is getting their own operating system itself into the Unix platform, so they can sell off the OS and SQL Server so quickly. So they don't need to go to any other platform. They try to bring up everything what market is getting. That's a good point with the Microsoft. People can easily can survive the Microsoft technologies. Certification. This is very important. So after this course, what are the certifications you can do? AG 104, 60 to 70% infrastructure side. DB300, data designing and implementing cloud data platform solutions. This is one of the valuable certificate for the DBS, especially for the DBS. This is designed for DBS only. So this portion is covered up to 80 to 85%. 15% you have to go through the dumps and blocks and all that. But the more of focus in our class goes towards the practical implementation. I'll break things, I'll fix it intentionally. You don't ask the question, I myself raise the question, I myself create the situation, I myself resolve the issue. It's like a workshop, guys. Every class is like a workshop, because you don't know. I understand that you did not work on the cloud, so you don't run your brain in multiple dimensions. You cannot ask the question because you don't know it. But I'll raise the question. Okay, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? I'll do it, I'll show it, I'll fix it. So that's how the classes will go on. You have to be regular and grab it as much as you can. I'll always welcome to like ask your questions. Don't keep it yourself, please. So I'm open to, it's not something the class will wind up in 26 to 27 classes. I'm okay to extend 2 more classes. If you are asking too many questions, maybe it might extend. I'm absolutely okay with it. I'm not working for anyone, I'm working for myself, and I'm a personal trainer. So I mean, I don't have any deadline to finish the course, only within these days kind of thing. Okay, so this is all about a demo, guys. Any questions anyone want to ask, anything that you have in your mind, why all that kind of questions, please let me know. I'll answer your question one by one. Stay back after the I stopped the video recording. Stay back, I wanted to talk a few things. Any questions from anyone? Anything that you have in your mind, please come out, and we will talk about it, and I'll stop the recording after that.
Yeah, hi Ravi, this is Sanjeev.
Yes.
Actually, still we can see some of the migration going to the AWS side, right? So
Right,
if
right,
we can see that is 5 times more than Azure, right, compared to. So
right.
why they are choosing the AWS?
They have
What is
their
the
own contracts. They have their own contracts. They already have the infrastructure with AWS. If there is a fresh migrations, they don't go to the AWS. If they are going, they are fulls, I would say. Why? Because the Azure is straight away is telling that on the official website it is 5 times cheaper. Why you go to the AWS? They are going because they have their infrastructure already integrated with AWS. That is one reason.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. So no one
So
have any
can
questions?
you just explain that, about any PowerShell scripting where we'll use automation kind of things in Azure?
Yes, I'm going to talk about 5 types of automation. In fact, five
Oh,
types. We have a Azure Logic App automation, Azure Elastic Agent Job automation, PowerShell automation, Runbooks automation,
no.
and we have on-prem SQL agent automation. 5 different types. You can use any of the alternative for your automation. So it's like multiple ends I'm going to talk about towards automation.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Okay. So you can use any of the as an alternate source resource as an automation. We will talk about automation is very important. We will
Okay.
spend good time there. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, if not, I'll stop the recording. Just stay back.